What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing today? And welcome to the Ugly Truth About Real Estate Investing podcast. This is episode number 34. And today I'm going to do a short one for you. And I wanted to talk about the 6 biggest mistakes made by new real estate investors. So these are going to be, I've been doing this for a long time. I started buying in 1994. So keep in mind, I'm going to tell you mistakes that I have seen made over and over and over again. And even to this day, I will get phone calls or I will get text or I'll get emails from people that are new, maybe in it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and they will tell me about what's going on wrong or why they haven't gotten started. And it almost always falls into this 6 categories. So, all right. So especially if you're new, but even if you're not new, it's important to pay attention to all 6 of these, because you may not even know it, that you may be falling into some of these traps right now as well. So first off, before we get into that, I want to tell you that if in fact you are listening to this in podcast form, if you are on iTunes right now and you are listening to this as a podcast, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, taking the time to subscribe to this podcast as well as leave me a review, because that helps me to reach more people. If in fact you are watching this on YouTube, how you doing? And if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, click the like button, subscribe to this channel. And if you have any questions or comments, comment down below. I make it a point now to get back to every single comment. I know for years I didn't do that. It's become a lot easier now using this new app. And so I'm able to respond to every single comment. So if you have any questions, comments on anything we go over, on any video, if you leave me a comment, I will make sure that I get back to you as soon as possible, generally within a day. All right. So now I want to talk to you about the 6 biggest mistakes that are made by new real estate investors. These are not going to be necessarily only to new investors. Sometimes I meet people who have been in the business for a while, and these are the same mistakes they are still making. So number 1, this probably should be number 6. Make sure you stay till the end so you can see all of these. But number 1, which is a huge one, is not starting until everything is perfect. And I just had this conversation with one of my coaching clients, because basically what he was telling me is he was waiting to get this, and this done before he would move forward. And I cannot stress enough to people, just do it. Just do it. You can always go back and make it better. So I hope that resonates with you. You can always go back and make it better, but you need to get started before you can do anything. And so I'm going to tell you a story about myself. So I heard this saying years ago called done is better than good, or done is better than perfect. And I actually live by that. I'd rather just get it out there and then worrying about making it better. So I'm going to tell you about myself, about actually if you're watching this on YouTube, this is a perfect example. I have this YouTube channel now, I think started in 2012. I had planned on starting it 4 or 5 years prior to that. So what was I doing during that time when I didn't start? Well, I was trying to get the right camera. I was trying to get the right backdrops. I was trying to get the right lighting. I was trying to get everything done, write out a script and decide what I'm going to say and have everything factored out so it was going to be perfect, right? And I didn't make one video. Then I went to an event out in California. It was actually a Brendan Burchard's event, not real estate related. This was about doing events and doing educational type stuff, seminars, coaching, training. And one of the things that he said there was done is better than perfect. And he got into the examples, much like I'm telling you. He said, just do it and you can always make it better. There was a saying, and I believe he said it, that I've been telling to my people. I say, if you do not look back at your first round of stuff a year from now and laugh at yourself for how bad it was, you took too long. So with that said, I went to this event out in California. I came back home and I was inspired by it. I set up my tripod in my living room, no microphone, no backdrop, no anything. And I started filming my YouTube videos. This is 2012. Yes, sometimes people are like, oh, get a mic, or you could do whatever. I'm not concerned with them. What I am concerned with is that I started doing it, and I've been doing it ever since. Had I waited for it to be perfect, it never would have happened. So how does this relate to your real estate business? I know people that are not doing anything now because they still don't know what their company name should be, or they don't have their LLC, or they don't have the right logo for their business cards. None of that matters. So trust me when I'm telling you, just get out there and do it. You can always revise stuff and make it better down the road. But right now, the important thing is that you get started. So don't worry about everything being perfect. All right. The next one is people that do not realize that this business is a roller coaster. And I'm doing this video now in May of 2020. So the roller coaster has never been more obvious and relevant than it is right now. However, there is always a roller coaster. And so what I mean by that, and I'm going to tell you, you guys come to training, you go to my training, go to a different training, read a book, whatever it is you've done, right? You get inspired, you get motivated, you go out there and you do a deal and you make $20,000, right? And now you start thinking in your head, oh, I made $20,000. It took me 30 days. So I make $240,000 a year in your head. That's not the way it works, because yes, you might have made 20 grand this month. You may make 20 grand next month, but then you may go 2 and 3 months with a goose egg, with zero. You have to remember, this business is a roller coaster. You have great months. You might hit 50 grand, whatever, it's crazy great. But then you may have months where you're hitting zero. You have a lot of deals you're in the works with on follow-up, but you didn't get them yet. And so you can't plan your expenses and plan your lifestyle around what you've done in 1 month or in 2 months. You have to look at things annually. And so remember, this business is a roller coaster. There's going to be great times. There's going to be bad times. As we are right now, we're in a market shift right now. I've been through this for a long time. I started buying in 1994, which is why I'm so conservative the way I am now. I was not that way in the beginning. Now I believe in free and clear. I believe in no debt. I believe in a lot of different things that people didn't believe in, or they still don't. They still don't preach. They still don't teach. I do. Because this business is a roller coaster, and I do not want to go through that roller coaster anymore. So I'm very much at peace doing things the way I do it. Just something important for you to remember. It is a roller coaster. All right. So this next one, hey, Scott, I have friends that still do this to this day, and that is always starting and never finishing. Have you guys heard the term shiny object syndrome, right? So I'm sure you've heard it. If you have been online, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere, and you've Googled anything about real estate investing, what happens after you do that? You start getting ads for everything under the sun, real estate investing. Well, everybody's got a new pitch. Hey, I got a way to find every vacant house in town. I could find every this. I'll have motivated sellers crawling at your door. I can have, everybody's got something to sell you. And the reality is, probably the good majority of them will work if you just do the one. But what happens is you start on the path with one and you're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this plan. And then before you get halfway done with that, you get a new shiny object, a new ad saying, oh, this is the new and improved, better way to do it. So now you're like, oh, I'll put that one on hold and I'm going to start working on this one over here. And then before you can finish that one, guess what? Someone has a new latest and greatest plan. And they're always going to have a latest and greatest plan. And I'm not putting any of them down, because odds are the majority of them will work if you just do that one. When you try and do all of them, you do all of them poorly. So there's a saying that I've always loved, and that is, there is a million ways to make $1 million. Choose one. Choose one. That's it. Choose one, stick with it, focus, laser focus, work on it, and it will work for you. But when you try and say, well, I'm going to do a little of this and a little of that and a little of this, you're going to end up doing all of them poorly. And you're going to end up saying this does not work. And it does work, but you need to pick what it is you're going to do and stick to that. Laser focus on that one thing. Yes, it's possible a year, 2, 3, 5 years from now, when you've perfected that one thing, you now may say, okay, now I'm going to look into a second stream, a second avenue, a second type of thing. But if you start doing them in the beginning before you've perfected anything, you're just going to do them both poorly. All right, the next one is first deal desperation. So first deal desperation is a killer. It's a real estate investor killer, especially with new real estate. Well, actually only with new real estates, because it's first deal. New real estate investors. So what happens is you're in this business, you've gotten trained, you're excited, and you start looking for a deal and you don't find one. You keep looking, you don't find one. Well, now you get to the point where you have all this knowledge, you have all this information, you're ready, you're motivated. And so you try and convert houses that are not deals into a deal, because you're so desperate to get your first deal done that even though your calculator tells you your offer should be $122,000, you're like, well, the seller wants 152, but it's probably, and next thing you know, you're doing a deal that you shouldn't have done. You're going to end up, and this is how it's going to end, you're going to end up losing money on that deal, and you are going to be out of the real estate investing business. Your numbers have to solely be factored in based on your calculator. It cannot be emotional, and first deal desperation is all emotional. First deal desperation means you did your calculation and it said you should be at X, but because of emotions, you're desperate to get your first deal under your belt. You kind of want to make it work. The seller's telling you it'll work. You ended up offering Y. And so this is why I'm telling you, you have to stick to your numbers. Some people leave, and I'm going to go into my own training. Some people leave my own training and a week later have a deal and they're running with it. Some people are in the program 2, 3, 4 months and they don't get their first deal. That's the way it goes. And it's okay. It's going to come when it comes. You can't force it. If you force the deal, it's going to end up being a first deal desperation deal, which will end up being your worst deal, and it'll be your last deal. So remember that first deal desperation is a very real thing. Do not fall into it. The numbers have to still be what the numbers should be. Don't think that you can modify the numbers because you're just so ready. All right, we got two more for you. Number 5 is going to be not being consistent with marketing. And this is something I stress to my coaching students all the time. So one of the things I'm always telling them, if you have $5,000, let's say, to spend in marketing, rather than you spend $5,000, I would rather see you spend $500 for 10 months consistently. And what that means is even if you don't get a deal, you're still marketing the next month. And if you don't get a deal for 2 months, you're still marketing month 3. If you do get a deal and you made 10 or 20 grand, you may say, okay, I want to modify now and commit to $1,000 a month. But whatever the dollar amount is, you have to commit to it consistently, whether or not you get a deal. Where people screw up in this business is they put out a bunch of money marketing, they don't get a deal right away, and then they quit marketing. Now, sometimes 2 or 3 months later, they will end up getting a deal from that marketing they did in the initial run. And then they'll make money, say now they make 10 grand and everything's great. Now they're happy they spent that $1,000 on marketing. But now in order for them to start marketing again, they have to start on month number 4. Now the 2 and 3 had $0 going out. If you follow what I'm saying here, you need to do it consistently, whether or not a deal comes in, because as long as you do it consistently, eventually, and this might take 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you're going to have a consistent lead flow, because you're going to have people that you spoke with in month 1 who said no, who are going to come back to you on follow-up. You're going to have people that got your postcard, your letter, or you took a picture of your sign or whatever it may be and put it on the refrigerator and didn't call you for 3 or 4 months. And that's happening all over town. So you have to be consistent. You're consistently doing your marketing, whether or not you got a deal. The biggest thing I see people screw up is they spend a bunch of money marketing. If they don't get a deal right away, what do they say? This business doesn't work. It's all a sham. Nothing works. It's not that it doesn't work. It's that they didn't work. You need to do this consistently. This is something that must be done every single month, month in, month out, whether or not you got a deal. So the very last one, biggest mistake new real estate investors make. And this one is close to my heart because it's gold. You literally are missing the majority of your business if you make this mistake, and that is not following up. If you do not follow up with your leads, you are missing 70% of your business. And when I say follow up, I do not mean follow up for the next week or 2 weeks. Our follow-up system is set up for 3 years. So for 3 years, from the time we go on that appointment, if you say, oh, I got to talk to my wife. Oh, she said no. Oh, we can't take that low of an offer. Whatever their reason is, other than yes, they're in my system now for 3 years. We're going to continue to follow up with them, because you have to remember, they called you. They need and want to sell. Just because they told you no doesn't change the fact that they still have to sell. So whether or not you get it today, a good 70% of all of our deals come after the appointment. And that comes from follow-up. So the people who are not following up, you're missing out on the majority of your business. I cannot stress that enough to people. Sometimes I want to shake people. If you're not doing this, if you're not thinking about it, you're not listening. You must follow up. I cannot stress it enough. We use My Deal Factory, which automates it for the entire time. Like, it sends voicemails from me, texts from me, emails automatically with my voice, voicemails with my voice. And it's me saying, hey, I'm just checking on you, seeing if there's anything I can do for you, all the way for 3 years, different messages, all automated for 3 years. So the person knows I'm still thinking about them. So that's it. Just to recap on them, not starting till everything is perfect, realizing that this business is a roller coaster. There's going to be ups and downs, not sticking with one thing, always starting and never finishing. First deal desperation. Make sure your numbers are what the numbers should be. Do not change your criteria because you desperately want to get a first deal done. And not being consistent with marketing. Cannot stress that enough. You have got to be consistent. Whether or not a deal comes in that month, you must be consistent. And the final one, as we just finished discussing, is following up. 70+% of all of your deals are going to come after the appointment. So if you do not follow up with those leads, you're missing majority, over 70% of your business you are leaving on the table. All right, guys, I hope that resonates with you. I hope I'm getting into your head. If you're in any of those positions, it's okay. Just make sure you realize it so you don't fall into that trap and don't Don't devastate your business before you really get it off the ground. Thank you for listening. If you're on the podcast, thank you for watching. If in fact you are on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Have a fantastic day. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a comment, and I will see you guys on the next video. Have a great day.